Am I streaming? Time got a little bit away from me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the studio this evening. And I'm very excited this evening for a couple of things. We're going to be painting. Whoa, where am I looking at? We're going to be painting that little guy over there. Seahorse this time. I've got mine pre-drawn out here. And I'm coming to you from a slightly different location in my studio. Last week I was about 3 feet over there, and now I've flipped everything around. I feel a little bit more comfortable where I'm at. I think this is a better position. I am ready to roll, ready to do some great painting. Who all is here? Dwayne is here, Kenya is here, Sudike is here, Commander Los is here, and Beverly is here. Welcome everybody. So do a couple of things to get some stuff out of the way. First, the paper that I'm using is, what is the paper that I'm using? This is the, meet-in paper? Not meet-in paper. What's the paper I used last week? All right, I got to think about this. What is my paper? Hello. The brushes that I'm going to be using are the brushes that I really like to use. These are my King Art brushes. I've got that pack of them. I've got several sizes over here. To my right, and then the colors that I'm using over here are all M-gram watercolor paints, a number of different colors. I'm happy to talk about these. Looks like my lighting on that needs to be changed a little bit, but there they are. And if you want to know what those colors are, they are listed right down here, and they're just going to scroll through. It'll take you right around the loop like this, and you'll see all the colors that I've got there. Natalie is here. Hello, Natalie. Bao Hong. Thank you, Dwayne. I don't know, last week my brain just was like, and this week it's starting out that way. I also feel like I'm talking a million miles an hour. Let me bring it down a little bit. I'm excited to do this. Been looking for something else to do, kind of trying to stay in that sea theme, that nautical underwater theme that we kind of got started earlier this month, and came across this guy. Fantastic little guy. I want to show you the reference photo and a couple of things that we're going to go with we're going to talk about before we get going with this. You can see it's incredibly blue, right? That's like a cobalt blue, maybe a little bit of cobalt cerulean blue in there. I really like that this isn't just a brown or an orangish brown. Seahorse. That blue makes it a little bit interesting to me. And that blue's a nice cold color. And then he's got these nice warm areas on there too, right? Up along his neck, the back of his neck, on the horns, on his head, a little bit on his fins. There's this wonderful kind of burnt umbery color that's really nice and warm. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to put a nice soft layer on first of all. And that's going to be a nice blue color, right? A nice soft blue color. That's going to be the under color, the undertone, the underpainting, right? Then we're going to come back in, and I've been coloring these waffle shapes all week as I've been doing this. We're going to come back in, and we're going to color in some of the waffle shapes in here. I don't know what else to call these. Inside here. I've only really drawn those on the middle. Ooh, you can see my drawing. Really only drawn those on the middle. I haven't drawn them up here towards his head. And I haven't drawn them down here on towards the tail. I'm hoping we can make some really stark squares or rectangles in here. And as we move down the tail, we can get some more of that, what I call watercolory goodness, where it's really watery down there. And the same thing up here, right? Some really stark squares here. We're going to come up to the top somewhere in here. We're going to transition into some watercolory coolness. And then I drew this little thing around his eye because I really want to accentuate his eye. And we're going to make that really stand out. So that's where we're going to be. That's where we're going to be headed. Oh, Dwayne, thank you. Dwayne with a super chat. Thank you, Dwayne. Very much appreciated. That's where we're going to go. And I think I forgot to mention one other thing. After we do the underpainting, the second step before we start really getting in these waffle squares is our second step is going to be to put some roundness, some dimensionality. Not necessarily all the squares and the fine details and stuff, but just give him a layer of dimensionality on there so he looks like he's got some good shape. Okay, whew, with that, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to jump in with this. And oh, it looks like my palette is quite dirty. Let me clean a little square up there. And while I'm doing this, I just want to say, hey, I hope you all have had a fantastic week. I know my week has been pretty good yesterday and today, really at work. I went to work and it's one of those days where I really felt like I got a lot of work done. Does anybody have those days? You go to work sometimes and you really feel like everything you do is for naught. Nothing really happens. Well, this week for me has been the exact opposite. I've gone to work and I felt like everything I've done has worked out, and I've really gotten a lot done this week, so I'm very excited. Let's see. Natalie says, Dwayne, how did you get crowned number one? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, the old number one, number two crowns here. Natalie, that came in. So the way I'm restreaming from here over to Twitch, and I should say anybody over in Twitch, hello. I don't want to forget about you guys. The way I'm restreaming is through a service called Streamlab Elements, and Streamlab Elements put that on there, and we went through it last week. I'll have to look up again, but the way you gain your crown is you chat more or you contribute more in some way, shape, or form, and they will automatically bump you up the scale. I didn't do that on my own. That's just something they do. But that's the whole crown thing. Feel free to disregard that. And what else do I have to talk about? Is there anything anybody else wants to talk about? I look up now and nothing has happened in a couple of minutes, and I always get scared and I'm like, uh-oh, did I lose connectivity again? I hope I didn't. I'm just slowly going around the sides here. Just slowly going around this guy to get a nice base of color on here. This will be Nelda says, I must not have been in here last week. It was, I think you were here last week, but it was right at the beginning that we all kind of had a question about it. I noticed it, or Sudike noticed it. Somebody noticed it. And we all went, that's curious. What is that? And so we took a look at it. But that's what that's about. I'm going to give everybody a chicken update. You all know I love my chickens, and this is the part where this maybe isn't the most exciting part of the painting, and it literally is like watching paint dry here. So I'm gonna tell some fun stories. My chickens, my baby chickens. If anybody doesn't know their names, the two new girls are Frida and Cha-Cha. And Frida and Cha-Cha are, gosh, they got to be going on 16 weeks old now, 17 weeks old. They're getting to be quite big girls anyways. And I think they have officially doubled their weights. I haven't weighed them, but holy shnikey, I picked one up. Picked up Frida. Frida's the bigger girl of the two. I picked up Frida, and she's quite stout already. Oh, I should say, wait, hold on a minute. Beverly is here. Beverly, hello. Have you been here before? I'm just jumping into normal stuff, and I should have taken a step back for just a second. Beverly, welcome if you haven't been here before. Thank you for stopping in. If you have not, if everybody hasn't said hello to you, I'd be totally shocked. But here are kind of the rules of the stream. Ask any questions you have. If you don't ask questions, I'm just going to ramble on about things going on in my life. I would rather talk about things that interest everybody else. This is your first time. That's fantastic. And you're in from Florida, which is great. I'm all the way on the other coast, so it's getting kind of late for you over there. I'll try not to keep you up too late, but I might. Last week was... what did we go last week? Almost 2.5 hours last week. I try to keep it to about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. Not quite that bad, but last week got a little out of hand. Plus, last week was a Wednesday, Friday for me. I had Thursday and Friday off, so I was willing to do a little bit more. I think you'll find the group that's here is a pretty fun group. We'll talk about everything and art. We usually get snookered into talking about the most recent paints that we've all bought. We usually get talked into talking about paper. I'm a brush snob, so I will talk brushes all that you let me. But I'm also willing to talk about anything else that you would like. Natalie says, welcome, Beverly. If you want brownie points with Michael, ask about his chickens. I love my chickens. Look, I have a chicken shirt on. See? Yes, the two young girls, Frida and Cha-Cha. I'll let you in on their personalities. Frida's a little bigger girl. She's got to be getting close to, I'm going to say she's getting close to 1.5 pounds now. So a little bigger girl, but only by a few ounces at the moment. But she's really kind of skittish, which is funny. The two of them really stay together. They don't want to be apart. So if one of them free ranges into the side yard, the other one goes. If one won't go, the other one will kind of take a peek and come right back, and they stay together pretty much all the time. The big difference is Cha-Cha's very outgoing, and I got them because they're very outgoing. They are Brahma chickens, widely known for two things, one being very large chickens. So these girls will grow up to be roughly 10 pounds. That's a big bird. They're not going to be small. I feel like you can't see all of me here. Is that a little bit better? I don't know. Maybe you don't need to see me. It's better if you don't. Let's see. Thanks for the hellos. I'm recovering from knee surgery. Ouch! And can't wait to get back in the studio. I love all animals. Okay, good. You fit right in. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. Well, I'm glad to have you, even if you didn't love all animals. And I hope your recovery goes very quickly. Natalie says, do chickens start laying according to age or weight? They start laying according to age. So they don't all get to, I don't know, 6 months old and all of a sudden they start laying. There's a time frame in there. But sometime around that 6 month to 8 month period, they will start to lay eggs. Maybe it might be a little bit later than that. Maybe closer to 9 months, 7 to 9 months, in that range. They'll start to lay eggs. The first eggs that they lay, they might lay one on Tuesday and not another one until Saturday. But it won't take long before they'll be laying almost every day. And then typically what will happen is they'll lay until they molt, or until a couple of weeks before they molt. When they start to molt, they stop laying. All their energy goes into shedding feathers and growing new feathers. That will happen over the course of, 3-4 months. Over the winter, they'll get rid of one set of feathers at a time. So their flight feathers will go, and then they'll regrow. And then the shoulder feathers will go, and they'll regrow. And then their neck feathers will go, and they'll regrow. And then after that is done, then starting the second year, right, based upon, it's funny, the sunlight, then they'll start laying. So if you really want chickens to lay eggs all year round, it doesn't have anything to do with the cold. Keep them in constant sunlight and they will keep laying eggs. Chickens are strange. They're strange animals. Natalie, I hope that answered your question. That probably gave you more than you ever wanted to know about chickens, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so I'm waiting for this to dry. This is our first layer, and this is going to be the undercoat, right? So what we have to do on top of this now is we have to start layering on a second layer, a second wash, that's going to start to let us know where the dark areas are. And if I can find my pointer brush, right, we've got a few areas here. I'm kind of calling this the cheek or the chin. It really isn't. It's the neck, but this is a neck. And this is a mouth, but it's kind of more of a nose. I don't know. Seahorse anatomy is a little odd. But we do have a little shadow underneath here, and a little underneath what I've drawn out around his eye. There's probably a little shadow underneath this part of his crown or his horn over here. And then we've got a good area down here where we can start to put in some shadow areas. And that's going to, oh, and I forgot, underneath his neck. Or her neck, his neck, her neck, I don't know. Under here. And that'll start to give us some roundness and some 3D-ishness qualities on there. My son in New York has heat lamps all winter for his chickens. I think they laid all winter, so the heat lamps will give off some light, and they could lay all winter. Interesting. There are some chickens who don't need heat at all in the winter, and there are some that do. The big chickens I got are Brahmas, and they don't do well in the summer. I mean, they're big girls, and they have a lot of feathers, and they're ones that have feathers all down their legs. So they don't do well in the heat. Luckily, where I live, not a lot of heat. So they're going to do fine. Up in New York area, the big thing that they have to watch out for, like my Brahmas would do well there because they're feathered all the way down. One of the big things they have to watch out for up there is the feet and their beaks, they're right around their faces. They get cold, or get too cold, I should say. All right, I'm going to start layering in some colors. This head is pretty dry here. I think we can get started with some of this. I'm going to try to just drop in a layer of color, kind of the same stuff we're working with already. And I'm going to push it around a little bit and give us some dimensionality here for what we want. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. That's why we have the opportunity to put another layer on here. And Beverly, don't be afraid. If you've got a non-chicken question, I'm happy to answer those too, or talk about them. Or if you want, if anybody wants, I'll talk about my old chickens. Blueberry is taking the mantle of top chicken here, and she is really pushing her authority with the little ones, chasing them around, especially when I throw treats out there to them. She really does not want them to get treats. Until I had chickens, the term henpecked was always just a term. And now that I have chickens, I really understand what henpecked means. It means the alpha chickens really do peck at the little ones and don't let them have the choice food or the first chance to feed, at least. It's really a funny thing to see. I got home from work today and, of course, went out to see my chickens because that's what I do. And I took some chicken scratch out to them and tossed it out in 3 piles. One pile at first, knowing that the little chickens are going to get that. Put it in the first pile. All the big girls run to it. Cool. The other thing chickens do is they go to the last thing you put down. So put down a second pile. All the big girls ran to the second pile, and then put down a third pile even further away. So all the big girls ran to the third pile of chicken scratch that I laid out. So then I stood between the first and the second pile, if you're following along. So the big girls were as far away as they could get. And then I just stood there so that the little girls would get to pile 1 and be able to eat something. Beverly, I typically paint in oils these days, but did watercolors years ago. What kind and size of brushes are you using? Okay, cool. So, Beverly, you're fitting right in here. I might have to get all my brushes from over here. Well, not all of them, but about half my brushes over here. The brushes I'm using for this, and we can talk watercolor brushes all you want. These I got from King Art. I got them on a great deal. They were a pack, and I don't know, I got 8 or 10 of them of all different sizes. These are a few of them. These are pointed round brushes. They're a synthetic hair, and they're pointed round brushes. I like pointed round brushes because I like to get into little corners when I want to and make sure that everything is nice and square and tight, and that's me. They make, and this is not that you need to run out and buy these. These are the 90-20 series. They make a 9000 series, exactly the same, gold bar, same bristles, same everything. But the 9000 series does not come to this point that these do. Let me see if I can hold these up. Like, here's a bigger one. And I think you can see that comes to a pretty good point. Let me grab a couple of other brushes here real quick. Is this my Casaneo? This is oh, okay. Well, let me grab this one. This one happens to be a very expensive brush. This is a Winsor Newton Series 7 brush. This is a $100 paintbrush right here. But you can see this brush, if I could hold it up, does not come to a point. This is just a standard round brush. Right? As by comparison, that one comes to a sharp point. Maybe this would be better if I did it on white. There you go. So you can see the difference between the two. Different purposes, different intents. Now I've lost my brush there. I prefer the pointed round brush. And I don't know why. And then I don't necessarily like synthetic brushes, but these ones seem to work for me. What I look for is water retention or paint retention on your brush and the flow off of your brush. And these ones, the flow off of the brush seems to be pretty nice. It's at a rate that is consistent. And like I said, it works for me. I'm not saying that this is going to work for everybody. I do have a lot of squirrel hair brushes that hold a lot more water and will release that water at a different rate than these. Love those too. I think those hold, unless I'm doing a large painting, those probably hold a bit more water than I really want to, than I want to have on my brush normally. But that's the brushes that I typically use. They're by King Art. They're a golden tackle-on brush, and quite honestly, golden tackle-on brushes are not all that expensive, typically. Mostly what I have a problem with golden tackle-on brushes are that the tips, the ends of them, hook over. And these ones have yet to do that. So I'm very happy that they haven't. I bought some much more expensive brushes from Jerry's Artorama years ago and used them for about 3 paintings, and the tips on all of them hooked over, and I haven't used them since. I'm so frustrated I haven't used them since. So that's why I'm using these. That's why I got these. I just got them to try them out. I thought they were interesting looking brushes, and they seemed to have worked out for me. I'm not necessarily a proponent of spending $1 million on brushes. In today's day and age, I think you can find some really good brushes that are really relatively inexpensive, and that makes it easier to try out a lot of other brushes. But Natalie, you said you keep an eye on King Art brush prices, and I've never caught a sale like you got. Yeah, I've seen it close to that before, but not nearly like the one I got. And why I got that sale, I couldn't tell you. And it was this pack of brushes. I'm trying to look to see where my other ones are at, and I can't see them in and amongst my other brushes. I don't know if I got 8 or if I got 10, and it was $50 or something like that. Regularly, I don't know, they're regularly like 150 or something like that. Usually quite a bit more. Okay, so I've put some color on here, and I'm going to blend this out a little bit. My big concern with this now is we're awfully bright. So everything we do from here on out, we're going to have to work to dull this color down just a little bit, right? I do like the brightness of that guy, but this is starting to get a little brighter than I really wanted to. And while this is still wet, I can just kind of massage this color a little bit and really kind of get it how I want. Something like that. I can make these really nice rings down there. See, and you can see just got the basis of this to start looking like there's some roundness to it. I need to put a little bit more up here. There's 62 on Amazon for 8 now. Okay, there you go. That's not too bad. Kenya says, I bought a cheap set of grabbed brushes on sale for about $40. I find I use them more than your expensive brushes. Grabby brushes. that's the thing, right? Sometimes you'll get a brush that is not all that expensive, and it just kind of works for you, right? Somehow, some way, shape, or form, it kind of works for you, and you don't want to give it up. And I don't blame you. You shouldn't. You find something that works for you, stick with it. All right, I got to put a little bit of color up here. If you have a shadow on one side, you kind of got to have a little bit of shadow on the other side. Or you don't have anything that's round. You just have something that's kind of flat. Oh yeah, I forgot. He's got it on his neck under here, right? You guys almost let me forget all about that. We'll tone this down a little bit. Right up under here. Got some wonderful colors right up underneath here. I think that's a little better. Tone this color down just a little bit. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to blend this out. Beverly, if you stick with me, you'll see me blend everything. I'm not a fan of hard edges. I've tried to live with hard edges. I can't do it. It's not in my nature. So in my style of painting, I've just leaned into that, and I will blend. I love a soft edge. I just want it to look really nice. Okay, cool. So we've got some interest going here. Now I wanna make his eye pop out a little bit more. I'm actually gonna put this all the way around his eye, or whatever we're going to call what I've made around his eye. I want this to go all the way around, and I should say, you see me reach up there with my hand like this and come back. I've got 3 water bottles right up there. So when you see me reach up, that's what I'm doing. And I've got this, which is a chamois over top of a sponge that I dab my brush on, and then I've got paper towel in my hand. I've got more paper towels down beside me, down here, so that I can do everything I think I need to try to control the moisture on my brush. I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable with the amount of moisture on my brush that's going to make me successful in my painting. And if you like the way I paint and you try it on your own, you'll figure out what that moisture level is for you. You're stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. I like what I'm seeing. Okay, good. I like to hear that. Yeah, Dwayne. Yes, right. Best night of the week. Thank you. I gotta get my hair out of my face. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. I'm starting to sweat. I rearranged my studio while I'm waiting for this to dry. I rearranged my studio, and I have a green screen behind me right here. I have limited electrical outlets in my studio. It's part of my garage, and there's some makeshift walls on the sides here. I have a fan. It's over on the other side of the green screen. What's also on the other side of the green screen, because I don't have a light switch in here to turn the lights on when I walk in, is my motion activated sensor. So my green screen actively blocks my motion activated sensor. So if you give me 1 second, I need to walk back over there, turn the motion activated sensor back on so I can have my fan on, because it's about 85 in here. 1 moment, please. Come on. Turn it on. There it goes. And the fan is back on. Oh. Whew. Okay. All right. So I'm looking here. I'm looking. I I want to get into, this is a nice bright blue. I want to get into some more darker blues over here. And let's see what kind of blues we can put in. This is an old piece of paper. I don't know what we painted on that side. I'm thinking we've got that beautiful kind of cerulean cobalt blue mixture. Right here it is. I'm gonna get this on here a little bit because I want us to see what this is gonna look like. Actually, before I drip water, let me just move that to the side for a second. And I was thinking we could put into that mix some turquoise. Ooh, look at that. This seems like it's an awfully long, long way away for you. If I put that turquoise over top of that, what is that going to look like? Is that going to be a good color for us? Because there's some of these little waffle holes or waffle cones that really look like this deep, rich color. I think that turquoise is going to look okay. That's the undertone color. That's that darker color, and we can go even that dark if we want to. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to give it a try. And what I'm going to also try to do is not overdo it. Natalie says, I've worked in 2 places that had motion-activated sensors in the restrooms. Boys, that had to turn to not overstaying. You're welcome. And Los says, turquoise is your favorite. Thank you. I'm with you. Turquoise might be my favorite color on the palette. I love turquoise. Talk about a way to not overstay. You're welcome. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to see what we can do. I don't know exactly how much color we're going to need to put in here. Likely, we're going to have to put on a couple of coats here. That's okay. Or it might take us a couple of these squares to get it figured out. I'm okay with either of those. But that's a nice color. It's a nice color. I like that. I like that. Is this on cold press or hot press? This is on cold press paper. Great question. This is on cold press paper. This is Bao Hong studio grade cold press paper. I bought it in a roll. It looks a little weird, right? I was going to turn it up. Let's see if I can do it. Looks a little weird. It's a little warped. It's a little funky. That's because I bought it in a roll and just kind of measured it out and cut it on my own. And, you know, you buy it in a roll. When you're done with it, it's still all rolled up. I put some water on it and flattened it down and called it good. And it's not perfect, but that's okay. Sometimes those quirky, wacky bumps and everything that are in here are going to help to make this more interesting. Sometimes they're going to make it a little bit more challenging. We'll deal with both of them. Deef. I'm not sure I'd say, but welcome. I'm glad to have you here. And Jags Honey over on Twitch says likes this color. That's fantastic. I love this color too. And I'm going to hope that this color is going to work out for us. So I'm just going to continue to put some in here. And again, this is that same cobalt and cerulean color with a little bit of turquoise thrown in there. What would be awesome is if I could do this, and I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, is have it a little darker on the right hand side and a little lighter on the left hand side. And I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to actually make an effort to do that. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm not going to make an effort to do it. I'm just going to do it. I had a boss. Did I ever tell you guys this? I had a boss. That's fine. Mirdef says that's fine. I had a boss, great guy. I really liked him. His name is Troy. Or was Troy. I guess it still is Troy. and he would come to me and say, "Hey, I need to have this done." I went, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll try to make that happen for you." And he would look at me every time and he'd go, "What do you mean you're going to try to make that happen?" He goes, "I know you. You're just going to do it. There's not going to be a try involved. He goes, it's just going to be a do. You don't need to say, I'm going to try. Just say, I'm going to do it." You know, okay, cool. I'm just going to do that. But it was a hard habit to break because I'm used to saying, "Oh, I'll try that. Let's give it a try. I think we can try that out." But we're going to do it. We're not going to try it. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. It'll be fantastic. It's going to be a do. Mir, are you a watercolor painter? Do you paint some other medium? This is the first time I think I've seen you in here, so let us know. And if you would like me to answer any questions about anything, paint, paper, pencil, paint, paper, brushes, whatever, let me know. I'm happy to talk about whatever. I'm happy to answer questions. Everything that we can do kind of together makes it a more, community event here. That's kind of what we have going on. Something that we all like to do and we're all willing to talk about together. It's one of the fun things about doing a live stream is that we're all doing this together. I need to look up to make sure I'm doing this on camera. It used to be I would start to paint something and all of a sudden it would just kind of wander and pretty soon it's here and I'm painting away and nobody can see anything except for the very top of it. Isn't it Yoda who said do or do not? There is no try. It could have been. Could have been. Absolutely could have been. It sounds like a Yoda thing to say. Sounds very Yoda-ish. Maybe my boss was Yoda in disguise. I don't think he was. He wasn't green. Wasn't green. He didn't have funny phrasing. I'm not sure he knew how to wield the Force even. But he did say something that I will always ponder. And I hate that he had said it to me because I will think about this for forever. And I'm going to throw it out to you guys, and you guys can think about it. Mir says, I don't really paint at all. I sew leather bags. Oh, wow, cool. That's cool. But you love watching things you don't do. You sew leather bags. That's interesting. And are we talking a leather bag? Are we talking like a purse? Are we talking like a saddle bag or like for a horse or for a motorcycle? Or are we talking like a gym bag, a duffel bag? Natalie says, you're still welcome here. No. No, you're totally welcome here. That's cool because I like watching and learning about things I don't necessarily do too. It's that mix of things that really makes it interesting to learn about other stuff. So I like where this is going. I'm just going to tell you while I'm doing this. I like where this is going, right? Light over here, right? Light to dark in the middle, and then we'll put some darker ones on the back here. I don't know if that's exactly the way this is supposed to be, but this is the way it's going, and I like where it's going. So I'm cool with that. I'm going to keep working on this. Let's see, I want to do this too. Let me get some extra color in here. Something over here, and I'll just blend this way out like this, all the way. But that's going to accentuate that white line right there. Or that lighter line, I guess I should say. So Dwayne says, love the colors. Thank you. Mir Sudika says, Mir, even if you come enough times, you'll end up buying paint even if you don't want paint. It might be true. So here's the question that my old boss used to post to me that I'm going to pose to everybody here, right? And this is stick with me because it has nothing at all to do with watercolor painting. Who is the best musical artist of all time? And I think, for the sake of this discussion, I think we can just limit it to the rock and roll era. Okay? Sherry says it's going to be beautiful. Thank you. Dwayne loves the colors. Well, it's limited to the rock and roll era. Who is the best musician of all time? And I'll even give you a hint to see if anybody can guess how. We have to answer like Yoda. I'll even give you a hint as to how he came up with it, and I can't argue against him, and that's part of what makes me upset. Record sales, #1 hits, and longevity. There are 3 things to think about as you're trying to figure out who the #1 artist is. Mir says you use dyes on the leather from time to time. The dyes are they I don't know anything about dyes. Is it like a vegetable dye? Do you soak it in or do you paint it on? I'm curious. Now that's a few more questions. I've got a guy in my town here who does leather craft. About his business is about a quarter of a mile from my house. He does some beautiful, absolutely stunning work. I hate to say I haven't bought anything from him though. I don't have a whole lot of leather goods, except for my shoes. I do have leather shoes. But you walk in his store and he's got some stunning things in there. Okay. Cool. I do like where this is going. I like it's lighter and it's getting darker as it goes across. I think I'm going to try to get one over here. Let's try one. Let's try this one here. Like even darker. Let's see how this is going to look. I'm kind of afraid. But I'm going to jump in. You know me, I'm just going to jump in and we'll figure it out on the back end. Let's see, this can go pretty much that whole way, like that. All right, that's a little too much paint. So I'm going to blend just the end of that down. And I like that. Dark, light, darker, dark. I think when that dries, that'll dry a little lighter than it is. I'm not going to mess with that too much. I think that's going to look good. We're going to get there. Some are alcohol-based and some are water-based. Okay, cool. Burt Baccarat. Ooh, Natalie. Good guess. I like the guess. That isn't who he came up with, and I can't. So Burt had a huge number of big hits, but he mostly was known, I believe, as a songwriter, right? He didn't sing all of his. That's a good guess. That's a great guess, though. He didn't come up with Burt Baccarat. I was thinking Paul Simon, but I think this other person beats out Paul Simon too. How about that? This is a great trivia question. It's not really trivia. It's not really trivia if I go, hey, guess what my boss thought? Guess what my ex-boss thought? I don't think that's really trivia. I went to see Burt Bacharach. I recently just got engaged to my wife, and Burt Bacharach played a concert at Cypress College. And why he played at Cypress College, I don't know. Cypress College, just outside of Los Angeles. The whole concert hall held about 300 people. It wasn't very many. And Burt Bacharach came and played, and it was fantastic. And I got to hear Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. It was great. Among many, many other songs. Many other songs that Burt has done. Burt was pretty wonderful. Natalie, you just saw James Taylor. I would love to see James Taylor. Here's my question to you. James Taylor is from the Boston area, I believe. Did he speak between songs? And if he did he have a Boston accent? Kenny says, I hate that question. How do you compare different musicians when there are so many greats? I personally love Stevie Ray Vaughan. Fantastic. Yep. Chris Cornell. Good. Pearl Jam. Yep. Bob Dylan. Yep. Bob Dylan. And so on and so forth. Okay. So I'm not gonna torture you anymore. I'm gonna tell you what he said. And when I tell you, you're gonna go, yeah, that kind of makes quite a bit of sense. It doesn't have to be exactly right because, it's one of those fun things. So, oh my God, just saw Willie Nelson a few weeks ago along with Bob Dylan. Wow, I went to Johnny Mathis when I was 18, and you fell in love while you were watching Johnny Mathis, or you fell in love with Johnny Mathis? I think there's a big difference in there. Many years ago, we saw Chip Taylor in a tiny coffee house. Wow, he wrote a bunch of songs too. Wow. You guys saw some great bands. Anyway, here's the answer. The answer is Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney, huge, obviously, career with the Beatles. All right, nobody can say he didn't have a great run with the Beatles. Then he and Wings. James didn't have an accent. That's funny. He must have taken voice lessons. But Paul McCartney, I don't know how many number ones he had as a Beatle. I don't know. He a lot. He had quite a few number ones as a member of Wings, his band Wings, and then he had even more number ones as a solo artist, and then he spanned, he started in the 60s, and he was still making music into the 90s. I mean, I guess he's probably still making music, but no chart-topping music anyways, but he was topping the charts into the 90s. So 30 years, plus he wrote a whole bunch of songs. Dwayne says, I can see that. Like I said, it's not a definitive, this is whatever, and if you look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they're going to tell you, blah, blah, blah. But it's a curious thing to think about is all I'm saying. It's a curious thing to think about. Now, with my luck, somebody from work is watching. They're going to talk to Troy tomorrow, and Troy's going to go, I heard you were talking about me last night. Yes, Troy, I was. Troy's also the boss that would walk into my office and just go, Viridian Green. Oh, Liza's here. Hello, Liza. You're late, but that's fine. You're right on time. We're just talking singers and songwriters. We got a couple of new people in here this evening. Beverly, who just said hi to, and I can't read it. It's Mir Def is here also. Liza comes, and Liza is a big questioner, and that's a compliment, Liza. Liza always asks questions about colors and how and why we're mixing things in a certain way, and how we can do it a little bit better, or if we can do it a little bit better. Oh, I like some of the colors on here. I like the way this is going, right? Lighter, and then it's got that dark stripe down the middle down here. I think what I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Oh, but you know what hasn't happened? Oh, you know what I'm going to say. I'm trying to tone it down a bit. Don't tone it down. You don't have to tone it down. Please don't tone it down. I like answering the questions. I'd rather have extra questions and have to answer them than not have any questions. Being here, talking to myself for an hour and a half or 2 hours without any questions, believe me, is tough to do. So I'm happy if you're asking questions. It keeps me going. It keeps me thinking. And you know what? I've probably said it before. If you guys weren't here asking questions and keeping the conversation going, I could just be here painting by myself and doing whatever, and and just be like any other night. So I'm happy to answer questions and talk about whatever. I like doing it. I really do. Some nights I feel like I don't do a very good job with it because there's a lot. But you guys are always really gracious and allow me to make plenty of mistakes while I'm painting and trying to talk, or when I need to be quiet because I have to concentrate because I can't paint and talk at the same time. So, all right, let's see. I'm going to pull this color right out to the edge on all of these ones. Let's bring that up a little bit here. All right, and again, right, there's not a whole lot of color in this right now. We're going to get some warm colors on here, right? This is pretty cold at the moment. We're going to get some browns in. We're going to work some browns in here. We're going to work some watercoloriness, that quality of watercolors that makes everything look flowy and cool and fantastic. Right, we all know what it is when we see it, but we can't really define it all that well. We're going to get some of that going in here, right up on the top of his neck up here. And I'm going to quickly do some on the bottom of his tail down here, just like I did on his neck. And then we're just going to keep cruising right on through. But I do like the way this is starting to look, right? It's looking pretty cool. I might have to give it a little bit more shading back down here again. That's okay. That's all right. I think the shading up here is still working. We got this light spot in here. We'll mix some brown in here, a nice shot of brown in here to really pop that and lighten that up a little bit. And we'll do some of that down here too. But I like where this is going right now. Who's here? Gnome? Did I miss? Let's see, Eliza, very pretty so far. Thank you. Let's see, this Eliza's the group troublemaker. There you go. There I Am Gnome is here. Hello, I Am Gnome. Glad you can make it. I'm trying to read through. I got multiple streams of things going here, so that's good. Maybe you have a little. Takes one to know one. That's funny. Eliza says, everybody hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Somebody, Mir says, you make it look easy. I don't know that I make anything look easy. Hope I make it seem not difficult. I'll settle for making it look not difficult. Let's see. What do we need to do here? I said I'm going to keep right on rolling down here, didn't I? Give it a little bit of cerulean. I'm going to drop some of the color in a couple of these. We're going to keep right on rolling on down. These ones way down here, we don't have to do a whole lot with. Doot. Now I'm hoping, so everybody send me some good wishes on this one, right? Everybody, because you know what I'm going to do with this painting? I have a friend of mine that I work with, and she doesn't work, in my division. She doesn't work with me. She works at the same place I work at, but she has been doing a lot of double duty. She shares a position, or she shares work anyways, projects with another woman, and the other woman has been out of work recently, and so the person I'm going to give this to has been pulling double duty, and I know it's been difficult on her, and so I don't know if you guys remember, it's got to be a year and a half ago or so now, I painted an octopus. Remember the octopus that we all painted together? I showed that to her, and she was like, oh my God, I love that. And so I gave that to her, and she's got that hanging in her office. So I'm going to do the same thing with this. If this turns out nice, or after this turns out so nice, see what I did there? I'm going to give this to her and let her hang this in her office, and she'll have a nice little something to hang in there. A nice little remembrance of good times and whatnot. She can always look up at this and smile. That'll make me feel good. That'll make her feel good. And then we've got a nice painting for her. So let's make sure that this is nice and good for her. It'll be great. That'll be great. Yeah. I like doing nice things for people. There was another woman at my work, and I'll let you know her name. Her name was Suzanne. Wonderful woman. And we have two locations, and I was spending time at our second location, and she came up to me because I had given a couple of my paintings out. She came up to me, not asking for a painting or anything. She just came up and said, hey, I saw that you gave a painting to so-and-so. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I gave a painting to Michelle. I've known Michelle for 10 years or whatnot, and she has a new office area or office space, and she didn't have any artwork in it. So I was like, you know what? I want you to have something in there. So I gave her a piece. She hung it up in her office, and this other woman saw it. Suzanne saw it, and she came up to me and said, that looks so nice. She goes, I used to curate artwork for these other places, and she named them off, and I didn't recognize any of them. So I used to curate artwork for these other places, and your artwork would definitely fit in there. It's it's good enough. It looks nice. You understand what you're doing. And, all right, cool. I just kind of said thank you, and I moved on, and I didn't think too much about it. I got home, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna gift her. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm going to gift her a painting too. So I gifted her a painting, one of the birds' heads that I had painted. And I took it out of my office. I had it hanging in my office because I thought it was nice. I took it out and I handed it to her, and I said, hey, I want you to have this because you coming up to me made me feel so good. And if you like this and appreciate this, then I think it would go a long way. And I would like it. I'm sure the art would appreciate it, and it's a win-win for everybody. Oh my Lord! She was so nice and so appreciative. You walk into her area and it's hanging right there for everybody to see. And she tells everybody when they come in who painted it and when they painted it and everything. It's such a nice thing. I don't even want, honestly, I don't want my name on it because I walk in and everybody knows it now. And I guess that's just part of it. But it's nice to know that the artwork has found such a nice home where it's at. And so I want to do that for the woman I want to give this to. Her name is June. I want to do that for June. Give this to her. I think she will really appreciate having some artwork in her area. And we'll just go from there. And I don't know if I've taken up enough time or if I've bored everybody to tears with my little story or not, but from time to time I do get questions about, and Liza, I think you've asked me before, what do I do with all my artwork? I paint something each week. You don't, most of you I don't know if anybody has ever looked, but most of you probably have never seen anything of mine for sale online. I used to put stuff up for sale from time to time, and sometimes it sold and sometimes it didn't. But this is an instance where I think giving it away and getting it to find a home far outweighs anything I would get from a sale of the piece of artwork. So I just want to let you guys know that if this turns out really nicely, this is going to find a really nice home somewhere. Okay, so I tried to put in that. Oh man, what is that? Something just fell on my painting. So I tried to put in some warmer colors in here so we're not quite so cold. Take some of that off of there, and that should have grayed it down a little bit. That blue and that brown should mix a little bit. It should gray it down just a bit. And I might actually want to pull this edge down into this a little bit so I don't have a hard edge there. And we got some of this cool, that watercolory look up there that I like. Let's see. I Am Gnome says, it's always nice to see your art appreciated by people in your everyday life. There you go. And I've definitely looked for some of my art online. I spent a lot of time looking at your website after the first live stream I saw. I actually let my website go because I wasn't using it. I appreciate the views over there, but I hadn't even updated that in years, and I got a bill for it. And I was like, am I seeing any benefit from this? I don't know that I'm doing a whole lot with this now. So I actually let that even go. But I appreciate that. Sherry says, I painted a lot of gifts and completed a PTG today for my sister. A painting today for my sister's 65th birthday. Wow. And Liza says, what's the crown next to your name? The number one question. So, Liza, the crown is a result of the service that I'm using to restream from YouTube to Twitch. So that service is called Stream Elements, and that's something they do. And you get a higher ranking based upon chatting more or cheering if you're over on Twitch, cheering more or super chats or whatnot. I'm not necessarily advocating that you guys have to do anything. I'm not making it a competition to do anything. But the flip side of that is I can't do anything to get rid of it. Right? So as long as I'm using Streamlabs to restream from one to the other, I'm stuck with it. Oh wait, it's back. Oh, Oh, you guys are gonna fight over the crown now. All right, cool. I wonder, I typed something up in there. I wonder, did I have a crown when I typed? I kind of think I should get a crown, right? Should I? I don't know. I think I should have something. All right, I'm just dropping in some color here. And I'm trying not to get too brown, and I'm trying not to get too blue, right? I'm trying not to keep that super bright blue color. But I like the way that looks. That has a nice look to it. I kind of lost some of my 3D-ness. I can sop some of that up with a bit of a dry brush, and I can get some of that back. But I like the colors back in there. Let's see if we can. I like the colors here. We can put in a little bit more of this gray color in here. That should help with some of this. I'm just going to touch this and mostly let the color do what it wants to do. Mostly. I can't completely do that because I'm me. I have to pull a little bit out of there, but I like that. I want to paint wet and wet. I just don't feel completely comfortable painting wet and wet. I want to be able to do it like the big kids. It's just not completely in my wheelhouse. Oh, look at this. I think it's quite lovely. I think it's great, the warm brown on there. I'm going to pull that across just a little bit. I think the warm colors on there really make it look nice. I'm just going to kind of drop a couple of, right, just a couple of things here and there. Let's let it have some fun down there. Shoot, that's going to look nice. Okay. Now, I need to step away from that for just a second. I really need to step away. Kenny says, my crown is gold. No. It's not time to spam the chat. Please, no chat spam. Although it would be funny. It is funny. So let me put on a couple little spikes here. Something. Oh, okay. So I like this down here. It looks nothing like that already, but I like the way that looks. Let's look at the reference photo. Right? If you look at the reference photo, they've got those bars that go all the way down and around that tail, and I couldn't do that. I mean, I could. It'd take a long time to do, and it would kind of make me nuts, and you guys would go, why are you doing all of that down there? And I want to not do an exact representation of that. I want to have some cool watercoloriness. Look at my tail. I think my tail looks really interesting. Maybe if I want to put some of those bars on here, I can drop something on here like this. That might make it even better. Right? And that's going to give us as much interest down there as anything else. Right? There's more interest by doing it that way than doing it the other way. I think. In my opinion. All right, I want to do a little bit of something a little different here. I'm going to take a little bit of my Payne's Gray, a little bit of neutral tint, and I'm going to put some of this burnt umber into it. Right, I just want to darken this down a little bit. And it's a little warmer than I want. I'm going to put some cobalt blue in there. That's better. I'm going to gray this down a bit because I think there's some lines on this guy's neck, something like that. I think there's something like that. Right? Whoop, there you go. You can see that. Something. Let's see, what do I want to do here? I want to take some of this color. I'm going to go in front of this crown too. Now that I'm thinking about it, I want to go in front of that crown a little bit, and I think I'm willing to put some warmer color up here. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm getting really reckless with this all of a sudden, but sometimes reckless works. Let's vote that this time reckless is going to work for us. I have faith that what we do is going to turn out, in this case, being a little reckless is going to be a little good, and it's going to make this a little bit more interesting. I have faith. Of course, it's faith based on nothing. Now, we're just going to make sure that we're just going to make sure that it turns out really nice. This is just what we're going to have to do. I think what I want to do is over here, I'm going to extend this brownish over on this side. Okay? Let's do that. And I'm going to start here. He's got these little spines or something on his belly. Didn't I, now that I'm thinking about it, didn't I make the decree that we were going to do a quick facts or fast facts or something like that about everything we painted, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks in and we've stopped already? I don't have any fast facts about seahorses. I don't know what these are. Here are all the fast facts I know about seahorses. The males carry the babies and give birth, and they live in the ocean. The end. That's about the extent of my knowledge of seahorses. Not very extensive at all. But in my defense, I grew up in Ohio, and we didn't have seahorses anywhere around. At least I don't think so. I don't think we had seahorses in Lake Erie. I'm pretty sure we didn't have any seahorses in Lake Erie. Let's see. Kenya says, I'm looking up late, I know. Kenya says, I think it's better to have the impression of detail than the detail. Sometimes that's exactly true. You don't gain necessarily anything by having sharp detail in a painting. You can gain a lot more by giving the suggestion of detail than the actual detail. I still have a friend. She lives up in the Pacific Northwest, and one of her things for her paintings is she wants to suggest, not state. So even for her, these waffle areas, again, I don't know what these are called, that for her is too much. That's too much of a statement. She wants to suggest that they're there rather than state that they're there. But it's a cool concept. Let's see. I Am Gnome says, I totally agree. It's very challenging sometimes to try and know what you can leave out while still carrying the same motion of the painting. True. Simplifying is difficult. Simplifying is terribly difficult. It sounds like I missed something above that, though. I Am Gnome says, nothing wrong with moving away from the reference. Right. Sudika says, I like how you figure out the detail to leave out. I'm still trying to figure that out. Here's the quick way to figure that out. How much time do you have for your painting? If you have an hour for your painting, you're going to only paint the details that are important. Everything else just gets tossed out the door. I don't know about. Let's see. Liza says, her most interesting looking creature. I Am Gnome says, at Kenya, very true. The little dark dots on the tail give the impression of much more detail and makes it look like ribbing is still there. Right. It looks like there's something there, even though there's not really much of anything there. Right. Let the paint do it. And Sherry says, being reckless has totally worked for me in my paintings today. There you go. I was wrong to toss it yesterday. Or you were going to toss it yesterday. There you go. Fragile. Amir says, fragile ecosystems. I think. I'm certain they live in a fragile ecosystem. I have no doubt in my mind they live in a very fragile ecosystem. And I also have no doubt in my mind that we as humans are doing everything we can to destroy that ecosystem, because that's what we do. For good or for bad. That's kind of how we are. I'm not making a judgment on it. That's just kind of how we've evolved as a species. Like it or not, like I said, not casting any judgment or aspersion or anything. It's just kind of how we've gone about things. And I'm going to put that a little bit of brown on this side. It's going to warm this all up. And I want to do that because I want some brown here. I want a nice spot of brown there that I can pull out into quite a bit of this. And if I can get some of this blue in here, we should be able to make a cool blend in here. Not too cold, not too warm, just a cool, interesting kind of a thing on that side. Get the right moisture on my brush. Take it out on the other side and right on down. And I have to say, I'm kind of really digging the way this is looking. I had a plan going in that I wanted to stick with. I think we've mostly stuck with that. Maybe not completely, but mostly stuck with that. And I think it's playing out well. I also feel like now that I'm doing this, I'm looking a lot more. I'm looking a lot less up there. I'm totally gotten into this all of a sudden. And I really like what I'm seeing. It's really cool. I like it. And you know what? After we've toned this down a little bit, I think being toned down a little bit is making this pop off a little bit more. It looks so much better. So much better. Let's see. Reminds me of that TV series Life After People. I didn't see Life After People. I Am Gnome. Do you always use the same paper? Each paper is different with wet and wet. Also, are you, after you wet the paper, wait until the shine goes down a bit, a minute or two? They must have had a question about, I Am Gnome must have had a question that I missed. I Am Gnome. Very true. Maybe not. I don't know. Susie's here. Susie's here. Hello, Susie. Sadika said really like the gray on the belly, but that's the cool part of it. I didn't do any gray. That's brown. That's brown mixed with the blue that was underneath. Really, really dulled it down. And now here's the more important thing. Now it's dulled down, but look, this is much darker. I know we can make that even darker. I don't want to push too much, but we can make this even darker. And then this is a lot lighter. So it looks like there's actual roundness to this part of his belly right there, which is cool, which is exactly what we want. I Am Gnome. Susie, I typically use heavy cold pressed paper, but I haven't had the funds to get some nicer paper. Also lack patience sometimes. Yeah, I get that. And no puddle. Let's see. I'm no thumbs up and no puddles on the paper. If you have puddles, sop them up before adding paint. Depends. I mean, in general, yes. Sometimes puddles help you out too. All right. What are we doing? I need to think about what we're doing here. What I'm going to do. Why I'm going to do this, I don't know. Because I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going to grab my big old brush here. And I'm going to attempt a background. I'm going to attempt the background. And then I've got a little bit to do well, let's see, I can't do a background yet. That's wet, that's wet, that's wet. Okay, can't do a background quite yet. Let's think about what we can do. What I can do is I can mix up a little bit of this grayish color. Right, I'm going to keep with our same theme here. So give me the blue that we're using. Give me some of this burnt umber. It's going to make this the gray that's everywhere. And this is a bit bright. So I'm going to quickly, this should be mostly dry. So I can quickly put a wash on a couple of these areas. And it should just tone it down that little bit. This is one step that used to frighten me to death. And I'll bet you it frightens many, many other people. Why would I purposely paint over top of something just to tone it down that little bit? Great question. The answer is because you've got one area that stands out so much more and it just sticks out like a sore thumb, and you want to just put a layer of paint over top of it to push that back just a little bit. Just push it back ever so slightly is all you want to do. The easy way to do it, super quickly, take a deep breath and do it. Make sure your first layer of paint or your first 2 layers of paint or whatever, however many you have, the last layer of paint that you have down there is super dry, and then get a super wet wash and go right over it as quickly as possible. Work like a champ. Let's see. Susie says, loving the Seahorse. I have new home says, sure, love to talk watercolors. Susie, you're very knowledgeable and helpful. That's true. That's true. Susie says, I don't know about that, but I have the ideas and I like to share. Hey, look, we can all share plenty of ideas about watercolors because well, maybe not all of us, but most of us paint them, and we've all had struggles and we all try different things. And if it works for one of us, it's going to work for the other one. My only thing is, even if you're taking advice from me, right? Don't just take it carte blanche. Take whatever advice you get and then go try something out. Because like my painting style is different than everybody else's painting style. So my color and blend, put things on and take things off, might work for some, might not work for everybody, right? There are such differences in the way we, let's see, I need to do this. I forgot, I painted over top of this and I shouldn't have. And so this is dry, but I'm going to try to do this. I've got the top of his head here. Right, that's the top of his head. I need to make that the top of his head. That other stuff is behind his head. I just looked up and noticed that I forgot to put that in there. But luckily, we can give him the top of the head. Look at that. It's like it was meant to be like that. Look at it. Luckily. Let's bring that down. So I'm really liking the way this is looking. Susie says, Susie also makes good recommendations for watercolor books. That's true. I am known there's totally differences. I love that advice you give, even though I typically work in surrealism because a lot of the same advice translates over. That's true, it does. Yeah, there's a lot you can take from one genre to another in watercolor or in any other form, right? It's a matter of sitting down and doing it and seeing what works best here and what works best there. Totally. You're totally right. Okay, so what's our seawater look like? I'm betting there's going to be some green in it. Let's put in some phthalo green. All right, this is our seawater. And let's put in some cerulean. Does this look like seawater? A little cobalt in there. That's seawatery-ish, right? I don't want it to be blue because that guy's blue, right? I want it to be green-ish. There can be some blue in there. I think I'm going to go with something like that. If I can do that really light around it, I think that's what I'm going to go. I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's start here. Give me some of this color. I'm going to be mixing a little bit as I go. And I'm okay if it gets a little bit more intense and a little bit less intense. I'm okay if we get a little bit of blue and a little bit of green in there in different spots. Totally fine with that. What I don't want is to have the color too rich, too saturated, that it overtakes the painting. That I do not want. And that is why I typically don't like to do backgrounds, because for me, that's a hard thing. Soft, gentle colors are much tougher for me than bigger, bolder colors. And I'll bet you I can take about half of this color and spread it out, and it'll probably be fine up through here. I want to make sure we're not overpowering our background image here. Make sure that stays wet. Keep a wet edge. There's only a million things to do. I ought to be able to do it pretty easily, right? It's only a million. Some water. I'm going to go back over those little spines on the top that I'm painting over right now. I want to make sure I got a ton of water on here. I don't want... I'll rather have a bubble than a... I'd rather have a bubble than a brush line. I really don't want a brush line on this. I want to try and keep some of this a little bit wet as we're going through. All right, he's standing out nicely. And I'm going to surprise you all by saying we might do two layers of background here. If I can't keep this part wet, we might have to do 2 layers of background. But we're going to find out. We're going to see what we can do here. And I haven't looked up. I don't know if anybody's asking any questions. I need a moderator. Somebody to read these off. Somebody to get into like Discord with me and be on here while while this is going and read the questions off to me. Anybody want to be a moderator for me? Let me throw that out. I Am Gnome says, you noticed I don't tape down my paper. No, I don't. So I don't tape down my paper because The only time I think you need to or should tape down your paper is when it's going to warp and buckle badly. And I don't typically use enough water to make it warp and buckle all that much. Even when I'm doing a background, I struggle sometimes to put enough water on there so that I don't get brush marks. So it's never quite enough to let my paper buckle. So that's why I don't tape it down. I just don't think I really ever have the need to tape it down. I haven't noticed the need to tape it down. So if I'm doing a larger painting, a big painting, and I'm going to be doing a background like this, yeah, I might tape that down, because I don't know how much water I'm going to need. I don't know how I'm going to keep it going. There's some questions. I just don't do it often enough. And I might need the extra time or the extra help that I would get from keeping it wet for a longer amount of time. But for something this size, I think I can control it well enough that I just don't need to do that. And so I don't. And as you see, I'm not struggling with the paper buckling or anything like that. The paper is reacting pretty much like I think the paper would or should react. It's just kind of being paper. I've got a little too much paint down there. And before I go on, what I want to do is, and this is what I don't know if we're going to be able to do, is I want to put in some corals and stuff here, right? This is in the water. It's some seaweed going in here. This to me is the biggest challenge of the whole painting. This little bit that I'm doing right here. This to me frightens me more than anything I've done up to this point. I don't do a whole lot of wet painting of this type or this scale. I don't really want anything that's in focus. I want this to be in the background, just something that's back there. And something to give a little texture. I don't want it to be just a bland kind of it's a green background, right? I want a little something more than that. So this is what I'm doing, and I'm completely flummoxed by this. And I'm going to actually even muff this up a little bit, make it look even more watery back here. I got green on this side. I need to get some green on this side too. Does anybody else do this, or is this just me? Am I doing this right or wrong? Fields Beyond over on the other side on Twitch says, hold on, Fields. I'll be with you in 1 second. I missed how you did the scales. Did you do any resist or such for sharp lines? I did not. What I did for those, that should make it look nice and watery, I think. What I did for those is I put down a base layer of paint. Fields, I put down a base layer of paint, and then I let it dry, and then I went over it again and painted in the squares. And then where I thought I needed to, I went over an additional time and tightened up those colors a little bit, or augmented them a little bit as I thought they needed, and went on from there. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop with the background. I'm done with the background now. That's kind of what I want, right? Some seaweedy areas back there. Ooh, frightening for me to do. Frightening for me to do. Not anything that's kind of in my wheelhouse in any way, shape, or form. I need to stop. I need to let it dry for a minute. You guys can see it there. While this is drying, and we got a little bit to do to finish up, right? Obviously, we got a little bit on the eye to do to finish that up. I want to put a little dark in on the top of it and the black for the eye itself. I want to put a little color in on the horn here. These ones are on the back side. I think those are fine, but I want to get a little color here. And I want to do a little bit on the fin here. But I want you to see, right, here's my bit of it, almost done. You know what else I want to do is I want to take, this got a little bit dark in there for me, but almost done here. And here's what we started with. There's our reference. Oh, I did a pretty good drawing too. There's our reference for it. So you can see what we started with and what we ended with. So our beginning picture, not too bad. I mean, look at it, it's a fantastic picture. It's a seahorse, right? And then here's what I came up with. Quite a bit different, but interesting nonetheless, I think. I want to make sure he's seated in some water here. And I don't want him just to be floating in the air. I'm trying to get away from that. Every time I do that, I'm going to get in trouble as soon as I go in the house. So bear with me. You know, I make the statement, I want the subject to be the subject. I don't want your eye to get confused with anything else out here, right? I don't want a background that's going to take away from the subject. I don't want, you know, random things, seaweed in the background, anything like that. Nothing. I don't want anything like that. I want you to look at the subject and see the subject in its, you know, its pure form there. And then I walk in the house and my wife goes, why didn't you put a background on it? It's just floating. And I'm like, it's not floating. It's okay. It's kind of floating. But I'm like, it's floating with a purpose. And she's always like, you need to put a background on it. You need to do this. And I'm like, no, I don't know if I need to. But in some instances, she is right. And I am wrong. And I can admit when I'm wrong. Sometimes. Every now and again. Every now and again, I'll admit when I'm wrong. But I think she's right in that it does need a little something from time to time. Especially something that you would normally see in an environment, right? I love to paint birds. I might be able to get away with painting a bird with nothing around it, right? I could get away with painting a bird with nothing around it because we all know that you can see a bird in the sky and there's not necessarily a whole lot around it, right? You can imagine that. But for the vast majority of the people, we probably don't see flying seahorses, right? We probably don't see a whole lot of flying seahorses. We see them in an environment under the sea with some stuff around them, clinging to a branch or a piece of seaweed or something like that. So in this instance, I think she's probably right, and it probably needs something. I'll admit to that. Begrudgingly, I'll admit to that. Not really begrudgingly, but I'll admit to it. Whoop, that might be, I might need a little bit more blue in there. I want to just get some kind of color on this. Doesn't need to be much. I want to get something on here. I don't want it to be flat. Right? I think flat kind of kills it a little bit. So if we get something on here with just a little bit of color, I might have actually gotten too much of this Payne's Gray in there, but the nice thing about Payne's Gray is it dries incredibly light, right? It'll lighten up 50% or more when it dries. So we're all good with that. Did anybody else have any questions? I know that I am Gnome. You asked a question. Let's see, probably a weird fact to include, but when Pixar was making the Finding Nemo movie, the animators made the water so realistic that they had to tone it down to work with the rest of the movie. That's funny. Where is Dory? I have Dory here somewhere. Oh no, where's Dory? Hold on. Dory's lost again. Oh, I have to find Dory. So I have a Dory story. So years ago, my family took a trip to Hawaii, right? And we took a trip to Hawaii, and on one of the beaches we went to, we were playing in the sand, and I found Dory, a little plastic Dory, and I brought Dory home. And that, just to tell the story like that means absolutely nothing. What's really cool is that if you watch the second movie, Dory is from where I live right now. Dory is from my hometown. So if you watch the movie and you know where Dory's from, you know where I live. So Dory got to come home in real life as well as in the movie. So, woohoo! It was kind of fun to bring Dory home. All right, I'm going to get crazy here all of a sudden. I'm going to get some color here. Give me some of this brown. But Dory made it home, but I don't know where Dory's at, and now I'm sad because I've lost Dory. She's here somewhere. Natalie says she's glad I put a background on this one. It definitely needed it. You're probably right. It probably really did. I'm going to try to very lightly. What would Bob Ross say? 2 hairs and some air. Just put the indication of some whatever you call these things in fins. Some cartilage, some kind of something in these fins to give them some structure and help them stand out. I have lines, pencil lines drawn in there, but I think the pencil lines don't quite do it justice. They don't quite do it justice. A little bit of black for the eye there. I know he doesn't really have a nose here. I'm going to give him a couple of lines, darken a couple of lines here and there. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I want to do a whole lot more with this. I think I do want to make this eye a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit darker. I've got a little black here. I think I can make this just a little bigger, a little darker. Now you can see his eye. Dory is out finding Nemo. Oh, Dory was on I had a screaming goat. I still have a screaming goat. But Dory was right here, and I don't know where Dory is. Here's my goat. I don't know why that makes me giggle every time I do that. So this is my screaming goat. Hold on, I gotta find Dory now. Where is Dory? I found Brutus. I don't know. All right. I found Brutus. Here's Brutus. He even got his name on his shirt. Leslie says you love the Screaming Goat. I will have Dory here for next week. Dory will be a part of our painting next week. What do we need to do? Let's take a look. I'm going to leave this, right? These fins are really delicate here and here. I don't want to do anything more with those. I think I've gotten, what if I could pick it up? I think I've gotten a little bit of color. Oh, it's still a little damp in these horns, but I like now that these behind the head in front and then this in front of that gives the head a lot of depth, right? I don't know if I'm wild about how I made the eye, but I like that the eye has a couple of levels to it, right? I like the snout. This I would like to get rid of ever so slightly if I can. This got a little stronger than I wanted. So if I take some of this color out, and I can dab this out, that's not a big deal. But then I have a light spot, and I have to cover that up with something. I'm okay if it's there. It just needs to be a lot lighter than it is. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do that, and I can be happy with that. That covers up that. There's just a mark there. It's on the reference photo. It's got like some of these patterns in there. Let's see. Wait, we got some questions over here on Twitch. I'm sorry. Fields Beyond. Fields says, nice seaweed. That's neat. And nice seaweed. One day would be fun to paint a busy background and the subject be a void. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Well, I thought seahorses also live in depth of water that don't always have light. Oh, so it might be realistic to paint the whole thing back. That could be. I don't know about that, but that would be cool. You could totally do something with a dark background and a much lighter image in the foreground. That would be an interesting thing to do. As I'm looking at this, I love how this turned out here, right? These squares, I was calling them waffle squares, lighter over here. These ones, a little gradation, and the darkest area being right here. I think that gave some really nice dimension to the back or across the body here. Darker down here, much lighter here. Really helps to give this belly some roundness. And I like the way these come down, and I love the tail down here. I think the tail looks fantastic. So I'm totally happy with this. I would be more than happy to sign my name on this if I had a pen. There's my pen. I'm going to do that right about here. And I'm going to call this one done. Sherry says, I want a pet goat. Eliza loves a screaming goat. Kenya says, I have that goat. That goat came from Amazon. I got that goat from Amazon, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been on my desk ever since. I think it's absolutely hysterical. Oh, we forgot one thing. I said I was going to, before we go, I said I was going to paint these spines on, and I didn't do that. And this will only take a second because they're not much. We can get these on, and we can just give a quick little blend on them. There we go, and they're done. See? Quick as that. Now we have something on there. Just gives a little bit more interest to the back up there. Okay. That's it. That's all we're doing for tonight. Let's see. This is holy shnikey. This is the 3rd week in July, and we still have 2 more to go. So in 2 weeks will be our challenge photo, or our challenge painting. We'll do our challenge. I don't know what I'm going to do. My kids want me to do a mantis shrimp. That might be quite a bit to do in a 1 hour or so painting, but we'll figure that out. And next week we'll probably do something else. Sea creature-ish. Sea creature-related-ish. Until then, I'm just going to drop on a couple of highlights here and there. Until then, I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have a great rest of the whole time until we meet back here again next Wednesday in the studio, 7 o'clock Pacific. I don't know what that means in your time zones. 6, 5. No, that's the wrong way. 8 Mountain, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Is that right? I don't know. The math is too tough for me. Anyways, let's all meet back here again next Wednesday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, when we're going to do this whole thing over again. Beverly, Los, Natalie, Liza, Sherry, Kenya, Amir, Dwayne. Did I forget anything? I am Gnome. Everybody who's here, thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time. As always, you guys made my Wednesday very fun and satisfying. Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.